Hey everyone, hey internet, welcome to another episode of ACTO. Today our guest is Roberto Machado. He's the co-founder of Subvisual, and today we are lucky to get to know him and know a bit more about his story. Welcome, Roberto.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you too.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
let's start with the first question. Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us your journey.
Okay, thank you. I'll try. I'm the CEO of Subvisual, a company that helps create other companies. We started this company 10 years ago when I was finishing my master's degree at college. And through that company, we've been involved in several projects. In the past years, I was the co-founder of Utrust, a cryptocurrency payment system that started in 2017 and recently was sold to Allround Network. I also was a co-founder at Decipad that we started last year, and lately also highly involved with Lightshift Capital, an early stage crypto fund that was started also in the last year. I've been doing a lot more stuff, but that's me in a nutshell. I also love doing product management. I consider myself a product guy. Just to wrap up, also enjoy a lot starting new teams and helping them grow. That's my thing.
Amazing.
I will need to grab that transition from college to immediately start your own company. How did
Absolutely.
that happen? How did the idea grow inside your head?
Yeah, it's not the most fantastic story, I would say. Basically, when I was in college, I did a lot of stuff in college as well. I was the president of the Students Association for engineering, informatics engineering. It's hard to translate. It's
Yeah.
not that normal. But I don't also want to say computer science because that's another curriculum
A different branch. Yeah.
But I was involved in a lot of different stuff. And in the last year, we did a project in college with a large team, and we worked a lot with Ruby on Rails, and we were enjoying it a lot. I also had the opportunity to do research in a company in Porto, and I went to Porto every single day to work in that company, to do some money and also learn a little bit how it is to work in a company. And I didn't like it at all. It was really a bad experience. So combining the two things was like, we really want to do more Ruby on Rails. There was no offer in Portugal at the time. This was 2011. You didn't have a lot of companies building with Ruby on Rails back there.
At all.
And the bad experience that I had, we just thought, well, maybe we should continue this project that we were doing, see if we can do a startup, which was also a strange word back in the day. And I remember getting into some things related with Lean Startup and stuff like that. So I also started a meetup about Lean Startup at the time. And that was it. The company was started. We failed terribly doing any kind of business with that product. So we switched to services and we start building products for others. And that's the story of how Subvisual started. And we started building products for clients in the US, working a lot with startups, and we got a lot of experience doing it, like really early stage stuff. And we found ourselves like after 10 years being built more than, I don't know, probably more than 100 projects by now, which is a lot of accumulated experience.
Jesus, of course. And tell us one thing. So I'm really loving the transparency and saying, that things were hard at the beginning. Like, sure, like I think that, everyone, that are paying some attention to the industry, like I think that your name is a sort of name that really comes up in conversations. But just like you said, like we're talking about 2011, 2012, the ecosystem, the landscape was so different, right? There was no sort of startups. We barely speak about, open source, so definitely it was very different from what we are seeing today. And just like you said, you did a couple of attempts and it didn't work well, right? And so you needed to shift, to rethink everything. What kept you going? Like I'm pretty sure that there was those moments that you would go to bed at night thinking, I should just just get a job at the bank,
Yep.
and maybe make my family all happy and say, oh, thank God, Roberto is not crazy anymore.
Yeah.
But here we are today, right? And definitely it paid off. But we are seeing pretty much the middle or the end of the movie. But you had to go through all this entire journey. Like how did you do it? What kept you going and motivated?
It's a hard one. I still don't know if my parents are convinced that I did the right choice. I think they are almost convinced, but they still get scared, and definitely they don't understand half of what I do. So it's an hard one. I think what really excites me, and on a personal level, is solving problems and working with very interesting people, and I can get both of that in what we do at Subvisual. First, I was very lucky that from the start I started working with really smart people, and most of them, or almost all of them, are still in the company today. Um, I think the early group, the first group, like seven, are still in the company, and that was really also a drive. So we were always learning, always improving ourselves. And if I would up like right now in this moment without nothing, like closing Subvisual because it was unsuccessful, at least I had a bag of experience and learnings that were a lot will allow me to do anything that I wanted within the tech space. So that definitely was a drive. The second thing was working with early stage startups. From the early days, we really got to work in a lot of different domains. I could see myself one day solving a problem for the insurance space in fintech, and a few weeks after, I was solving something on the healthcare space related with cancer or whatever. And that shift of domains and all the learnings that you take from all of them were always exciting. And even though most of those projects didn't went anywhere and they failed, we still got the learnings from it and the experience of building them. So I think that kept us going until we start nailing where a few projects where we were really good, and also that accumulated experience allow us to be more smart about investments, about collaborating with other companies, co-founding companies, and we start seeing like, okay, it's not the linear growth that we can have doing services like man hour type of stuff. We can also do something that can be exponential here, and we start pursuing that. And right now we have a bunch of companies connected with us, some of them very successful, a few exits. And yeah, at the end of the story, it's I think it's easier to understand than the journey. But the journey, in my perspective, was all about learning, and still is, to be honest, still is about learning. I still feel that I still have a lot to learn and to improve in myself to do better in the future.
Yeah. So it's natural. It's we can see that Subvisual has a big presence in your day to day, right? I think it's the main business where you dedicate your time. I think we can say that. But you also mentioned that you were and you are co-founder of other companies. So
Yep.
I'm curious about how does a week look like to you? So how much time did you dedicate to each business or each company? So how do you
Yeah,
organize yourself?
chaotic for sure. But that's also how I do my best work. It's I like to driving in chaos. It's sometimes it's hard for people that work with me that like to have more like a steady pace or things very organized. But what happens is that when we have these interesting companies or founders coming to us, and we feel that we can exponentiate them by having some of us more present in the company. Sometimes me or the other people in the company take a more full-time role or a co-founder role in those companies. That has happened in Utrust, and in other things that we did in the past and that we are doing right now. And when we are doing that, it's almost full-time dedication to those projects. You end up taking like 8 hours per week to do some visual stuff, to do learning, to do a lot of things. Or sometimes what you end up doing is like 40 hours at the project and 4 hours doing that stuff. There are moments where you need to stretch yourself a little bit, so you need to dedicate yourself. But myself, what I try to do is I try to look at my priorities at the moment, where I can add value and exponentiate stuff, and I dedicate myself to that. If that ends up to be like doing a month full dedicated to some visuals projects and other stuff, that's it. If it's with a venture inside some visual, we do that. If it's spending like 3 years like I did at Utrust, where I was co-founder and CPO, let's do it. And it worked out very well for Utrust and for us, and was, for me personally, was probably the most fulfilling experience until now. So I really enjoyed that.
And tell us one thing. So you are involved in tons of stuff, right? Like I'm amazed with the amount of businesses that you are involved, and some of them, I think that they are super well known, from people in the industry. You just mentioned Utrust, and also in very different levels of collaboration. You also you help cover Flex. It is also an interesting company that we are seeing here. Like so many, and so like my question would be, how do you choose these sort of opportunities? Do you have like a nice mix, between the founding team and the idea? Is it like something else that you really try to understand? Because I'm pretty sure that if I would come to you and say, "Hey, Roberto, I need an advisor because I want to sell virtual termossos in Portugal," probably you say, "You know what, Pedro? I'm so busy. Like I'm on the 44 hours a week work. I'm so sorry, I can't do it." So there definitely needs to be something that definitely needs to be in place in order for you to say, "I'll take it. I'll put some of my time." That actually it's the only thing that we can buy more of, right? So it's the time, the most precious thing that we own, and you decide to invest part of it in helping, co-founding, things like that. Tell us a little bit more how that happens and the criteria.
The process evolved a lot along the years. So I would say that in the beginning, it was like whatever comes, we'll do it. It was survival mode. We just wanted to survive. And I wish to say this a lot. I think that's underrated sometimes. Surviving as a company, people should value that and take it as something really good. And if it's not working, you should kill it fast and move to the next thing. So after that early stage, we started trying to focus more on healthcare and fintech. Those are the two verticals that we were focused, and we were always looking for great projects within those two verticals. More recently, we evolved to Web3. So since Utrust, we've been focused on building Web3 projects, blockchain stuff, and that's what we are focused on. And we have a tendency to work more on the DeFi fintech space of Web3. So there's that macro level where we try to prune things down and have like a bucket that we need to the projects need to fall into that. But then we still receive a lot of projects within that space. What I look always is the founders, for sure. It's like, is this founding team the right one to build this project? Do they need us? I think we are in a business where ideally people don't need us. Ideally, you have a strong founding team that doesn't need to work with someone like Savvisual. But that doesn't happen always. There is times where having the help of a company like Visual that has this accumulated experience can be an unfair advantage for these projects. So we also look for that. Is this the right project for us to have an impact? And then the problem that we are solving, the idea, the learning opportunity within that idea. So if you come to us selling tremosos, but it's like a special type of tremosos where we'll learn a lot, probably we'll take it, even though it's a stupid
Wow.
idea. Yeah. We have done that several times. It's on the business side, we take a lot of bad decisions because of learning. We put learning above financial return because we are here for the long term. We don't have the mindset of let's build something fast and grow it like crazy to sell or to have like an exit strategy. So we play a lot the long game. And if there are learning opportunities for our team, we might take a project that doesn't sound like the best in financial return for the year. It needs to make sense. So we also want to do stuff that has some sort of impact in the world and does something good, and not just if it's for fun, it's also an option. But like that, let's play some balls here. We don't know if this is something useful or not. We don't like to do that. We like to be assertive about the things that we do.
No, but I think it's actually super clever what you're saying about the learning is also a return of investment, right? So it's not only about how much money I can make out of this, but also what can I learn so that I can improve. And it's almost like investing on yourself. So it's not just about the numbers, but also a lot about how better can we Subvisual, myself, as a professional, also evolve, taking this opportunity.
Definitely. And sometimes it depends on also the personal interest of the members at Subvisual and the companies that we have. Is there something in this project that these people are looking to learn, and is this a good opportunity for them for their personal individual growth? And if that's the case, for example, doing a project in a new language that normally we don't work with, but there is someone in our team that really wants to learn more about it because he sees some potential for him or for the company, we might pursue that. That happened with us, for example, with Rust. I think it was 2014 when we did the first RubyConf Portugal that we got in touch with Rust. Steve Klavnik gave a Rust talk, and it was really the first months of, I don't know, probably the first months or first year of the language. And Miguel, one of our developers, got really interested in it. And for the next years, I was always trying to find projects in Rust for him to work on, even though it had any connection to anything that we were doing. Fast forward to current times, Rust is one of the most used programming languages to work with in certain blockchains, Solana, Polkadot, etc., etc. So all of that investment back in the day suddenly paid off a lot. We have like an advantage to work in this kind of projects. And if we were very picky with no, let's do only the things that we can make a lot of financial return, probably we'll lose a lot of opportunities in the long term.
I was going to ask, but you already gave the answer, maybe. But I need to ask, do you recall the project where you and the whole team learned the most? You already gave that example, but I don't know if there was...
I have a few bad examples in the sense that we learned from the failures a lot. And I would say that a couple of good examples. So we had this project. It was like the first year of the company, was called Coach Me in Phoenix, in the United States. And it was like the first big project that we did. And we learned a lot about how to not get in trouble with clients and getting paid. And for the financial, for the business side of Subvisual, that was a massive learning opportunity. I think we improved a lot from that experience. We still got a huge financial hit from that, but it paid a lot in the long term. Second one, we did we co-founded a startup called Oncostats, 2014, I think, with a couple of doctors. Was basically trying to improve the way the healthcare records are done for cancer treatments. It was a very passionate project. We were highly involved, and we lost perspective of what we were doing. We just kept investing it, developing stuff, but we never got it to work in hospitals and in the real world. So we took a massive learning in that project on how to build startups, on how to be assertive, on how to raise capital, find the right investors. We had a bad experience with that part in that project. So we learned a lot from that project. On the good side, Utrust was a massive learning opportunity to almost everyone in the company. For me personally, I learned a lot about creating companies, building teams. We grew super fast at Utrust, from almost nothing to 50 people I think in 1 year or 1 year and a half. How to align priorities, how to make better technical decisions, etc., was a really massive learning opportunity that did well in the end. We had an exit from that. Everything, the company still exists. They are actually growing fast. Everything is going very well over there. So that was very, very good. And just to wrap up, I think another good opportunity, I will not name the project because it's still going on, but we have this blockchain project that was really hyped, and is going very well, in the sense that is building something very interesting. And we learned a lot about the need to have the right team in the right place, and to be more assertive about bad apples, in the sense that if you have people that are not working with you, aligned in the goals that you are, and the same values, you need to cut it fast. So that was more recent, but also a very good learning opportunity that we take from that. And the project is still going very well. So I'm very positive and bullish on that project.
Yeah, so
Now
it's noticeable. It's so noticeable that you enjoy creating ideas from scratch and creating tackle projects from scratch. And since the beginning, you only had like a work experience on behalf of someone else, right? Just working to someone else. And I wonder if now, with all that knowledge and that experience that you gather, is something that crosses your mind once in a while to embrace a project, like a project, no, but a company, or working to someone else?
I feel that I work for someone else every single day. Like, I feel that I work for my partners, for my team, for my clients. I really see them as people that have ownership over me, and that I need to work for them. So I don't feel that it's like much of a difference. If you ask me if I will ever take a full-time job doing one project working for someone else, I think that's definitely no. My mind cannot be at ease with that calm.
Yeah, you need chaos.
Roberto, CEO of Altis, next couple of years. Just stay tuned for more. No. No. Great answer. And now I have here a kind of a curveball to you, but definitely, I think you can get out of it anyways. But but super interesting for us to know. So if you would start a company today, the curveball is: would you do it as a single founder, or you would go for a co-founder option? And if you could know why, because I know there's this super interesting thing. Should you be single founder or co-founder? The impacts, how it looks like, and so on. So definitely, I would love your take there. And is there like a particular problem that you would love to solve? So we've been talking about so interesting things regarding, for instance, medicine. Is there like a problem that you're still pursuing to contribute to to solve it, so that you one day look to your grandkids or whatever and say, hey, you know what? It was grandpa that actually helped out on this one.
The first question about the founders, I'm a huge fan of um, having a co-founder. I think starting a new company is, at least for me, it's one of the most challenging things that you can do. You have to go through a lot of stuff, and having someone to share the journey, I think it's just smart. Solo founders, I really respect them. I haven't seen a lot of them having success, and sometimes you think that they are solo founders, but there is always someone else by their side that probably doesn't get the recognition, but is like the same thing as a co-founder. So going directly to our question, I would always prefer to start it with someone else, ideally one or two, or in this case, 2 or 3 founders. I think even having 3 founders is better than just having 2. Adds complexity on managing things, on taking decisions. Everything takes a little bit more time, but I think you can also take better decisions and move faster because you are more assertive about what you are doing. About the second question, because of our shift to Web3 in the last 5 years, which is something that I really love, and I've been involved in the space from a long time ago. This is a fun fact. Subvisual did our first project in blockchain in 2012. I don't know if you'll find a lot of companies around you that started building on blockchain in 2012. It was one of those projects that in hindsight made no sense, but we still took the learning experience from that, and it's the advantage that got us into doing a lot of stuff in blockchain. But going back to the answer, I really think that the healthcare space has a lot of problems to solve. There are so many things that you can improve there that can have. It's really easy to have a huge impact on the world and on people's lives. And I think that in the future, I don't think it will be soon, I want to go back to that and do something there. Even I was reading something about Tyrannus one of these days, and it was a scam, but that idea is amazing. Like one day I do believe that it will be possible to do what they were trying to do. So there's so many things to do there, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I still engage in it, and I talk with we still have some companies in our portfolio that are in that space, and I still am connected with some opinion makers in that space, and I hope that one day I can go back to that. I don't have an idea right now, but one day I hope that we, as a visual or myself, we go back to that and do something there.
Good. Yeah. Now I would like to know. So that's something that you already shared that you would like to work on, like in the future. You also share that you love to learn in the projects and you choose the projects and the challenges based on that. I'm curious about what else do you do personally for your personal growth and that keep yourself relevant to this old tech world and even you being an investor. So what kind of things do you usually do in your daily basis to keep yourself relevant?
Yeah. I always enjoyed reading a lot. One of the first investments of Subvisual was buying books, and we still have a huge library at the office, and people have books and budget for books. And I really incentivize everyone that joins us or our companies to read a lot, books or other stuff. But I think what makes me grow more these days is connecting with people that are much smarter than me, and I think I take a lot of knowledge from the founders that we start work with. Ideally, they are much better than me in the domain space that they are working on, so I can learn a lot. It's like a shit to grow really fast. It's like you connect with these people that are focused on a certain domain. They know a lot about it. They are much smarter than you, and you just absorb all the information and all the problems that they are seeing in the world, all the solutions that they are thinking about. So I really feel that that's the easiest way to grow really fast is connecting with people that know more about stuff than you. And that still happens also with my team. So a lot of them are very different interests from mine or are focused on different stuff. And we have this culture of always being sharing information and incentivize each other to learn and share. And that's also an easy way to get a lot of information.
Tell us one thing, Roberto. So, if you could have a chance to give one advice, to maybe Roberto Machado, that is pretty much just coming out of Minho, from some research project. I don't know if he was, president of the student association or not, but it's 2022. So it's like pretty much you have 10 years ahead of that person that, probably is going to follow your footsteps. One advice that you give to the next Roberto Machado, what would you tell him?
I think it's an advice that I still need now. It's shut things down more quickly than normally you do. I think sometimes you get really passionate about what you are doing, and it's not good for you and the company that you spend too much on something that is not going anywhere. And sometimes you know it, but you still want to make it work. And for example, I talked about Oncostats a few minutes ago. That was a clear example. So we probably stayed 1 year more than we should in that project. So and other stuff that we did before, and sometimes we still do. So I mentioned that we not always look just for the financial return, but we should be a little, and myself, I should be more assertive about what type of return are we getting and what is the chances of this working out, and be more assertive at shutting things down faster. That's something that I'm trying to improve myself to be better at, and definitely something that in the past would be very beneficial for me.
Such a good advice. Super cool. So be more assertive, less emotional, maybe. Maybe, I don't know if you're like an optimist by nature, but probably also that plays a little bit against you, right? So kind of really, and maybe that's actually what helped you also to bring Subvisual where it is today, right? It's all this kind of believing in something and pursuing it. But maybe what you're saying that you need to find that sweet spot or that balance, between believing in something and
I think you are totally correct. So a lot of times we take things further than we should, and it ends up paying off. And the resilience to continue connected and be doing something pays off. Other times, I think it's more notorious that you should be more assertive at shutting things down and making certain decisions that are uncomfortable. But like you said, I'm definitely an optimist, and it plays a role.
Sure.
It is what it is.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Well, this is being a great conversation. I didn't want to shut it down. But we are reaching the end, and I'm certain that everyone also learned a lot, our listeners as well, and I guess that they also can continue this conversation, so that's why I don't want to shut it down. But we have 3 final questions, more relaxing ones, more fun ones. I think I can start with the first one. Yeah, Pedro?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Roberto, what do you believe is your superpower?
I think it's empathy. I can connect with people very well, and also with that, I think helping them grow. It's something that I've been doing for years, and that I also enjoy a lot. And I think it's more my if I could write my main accomplishments, it will be a lot of people's names and the fact that they are successful today.
Do you see empathy as a key trait of a founder?
Depends on. I don't think all the founders need to have that, but if in the group of founders you don't have anyone with that skill, with that, I think it's a problem. At least you need to have one that
At least
can
one.
do that very well. But
Makes
the
sense,
overall,
makes
it should be something that is there and it's relevant, because you need to have empathy for your team, for your clients, for everything. I think it's really important that basically when we are starting a company, it's to solve someone's problem or to help people some way. So you need to have that empathy.
Indeed. No, very well.
Good call.
Second question. So if you could choose something, like your job for one day, like, or for a couple of hours, depending, on what it could be, and then you would go back to normal, what would that be?
I don't think I have a lot, but I always made a little bit of fun out of this. I think I wanted to be a butcher.
Oh, wow.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, and open a butcher house. And these days it's not a like an easy answer, because you have a lot of vegetarianism and a lot of stuff that people will not be pleased with this answer. So I think it's more fun than real. But I think I'm gonna get away with that with
Love
butcher.
it. Love it. No.
Well, that is going to be a good transition for the next one, since we are talking about food. So I will take the chance and ask you, what's your favorite dessert? And you can name it one from Portugal and any other country.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Go wild.
Yeah, I think from my previous answer, you can understand that I really like to eat a lot.
Yep.
And it's one of the main things that I like to do in life. But on this answer, I'm going to be very simplistic. My favorite dessert is late creme. If you are from Portugal, you probably know it. If there is late creme in the menu, I will pick that one or choose that one. And there was a time where I had a ranking of late cremes across Portugal.
Wow.
Is it a public list? No.
No, it was like a personal, just for friends list. If you ask me, I will tell you. But I can tell you that the best late creme that I had in my life until now, you cannot have it anymore, because the lady that made it already passed away, and I almost cried with that information. So it's a bit a downer to finish the episode.
Absolutely. No, so let me recover that. And so going to the late creme, are you the ones that value, the sugar being kind of, burnt on top, and you need kind of the spoon and
yes,
crack
definitely.
the sugar?
Yeah.
That's right. Because it's a thing, right? Like that. It's like that. Tuck, tuck.
Yeah, you need to do that. It needs to be thin. And ideally, the custard, which is below, should be a little bit cold, and it warms up with the sugar, and you get those two temperatures in your mouth, and everything comes together. I can talk about late creme like for an hour. I don't know
we should have started with that. Like, so you're CEO, co-founder of Subvisual, but tell me about late creme. The entire episode. Oh God!
You can learn a lot about late creme and making desserts in general, and product management. It's actually I used to do these product road mapping workshops, and like the first part of the workshop was based on explaining how people do recipes and do desserts, and how you can learn from that to do product management. So
product management to late creme.
Just to reinforce
Amazing
how much
analogy.
I like food.
My God, very
Well, this was a great way to finish the conversation.
Thank you for saving it, Pedro.
Thank you so much, Roberto. I really love it. It's always a pleasure to have
Fantastic.
like someone passionate for what you do. You know. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
thank you
invitation.
our
It was a real
and thank you
pleasure,
yeah,
Sara and Pedro.
yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
And
Cool.
thank you our listeners that are here with us. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I see you next time.
Thank you.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye.